Hello and welcome to the Self Storage Made Simple podcast. Today's kind of a special day for me. Every once in a while in your professional life, you have a relationship that really transcends the business side of things. And this is one of those people that when I first got into the self-storage space, just became an incredible mentor, and since then become really a more than a business associate, a friend, somebody I so looking forward to spending some time with. So want to introduce the principal, founder, president, CEO, whatever title you want to place upon him. I call him Titan in the self-storage industry. He's been in this industry for 30 plus years. I don't mean to date him, but I think the bald head did that anyway. Barry Sherman, thank you so much for coming and joining us for a little bit.
Good afternoon, Thad. What an intro. Thank you. You certainly hit on the head. I certainly appreciate our relationship and absolutely call you a friend of mine. So good to see you.
That makes me feel good because I kind of put myself on a limb there. It would have hurt a little bit if you didn't go along with it. So I appreciate that. Listen, I always kind of start, but Barry, this is the third time that we've done a podcast together, the first time on this iteration. So I'm going to go back at the beginning and cover a little ground just because some of our viewers haven't ever seen the old stuff we did. Like I always do when we do the podcast with someone new, I'm always fascinated by people's journeys into this incredible asset class because it's such a unique asset class in so many different ways, not just performance, but the quality of the people. I want you to take me on the journey of Barry Sherman becoming somebody who's so well established in self-storage.
Well, I appreciate that you thinking that's the case. It's certainly been a journey. It's been a good journey over now 3 decades, Thad, and it's a platform and an asset class with now a lot of friends, acquaintances, a lot of successes. But yeah, you are going to date me because I think my first entry into the self storage market was in about 1992, where I was playing architect as I became an architect as a younger man, and that's where I started my roots in storage. It was just truly designing a facility, single story drive up, trying to figure out how to get doors to work, and we're still framing some of these just with wood and garage doors. And so it was a time where the codes were maturing, the product maturing way before technology was even a thought in the asset class.
And take me on that journey because now you're playing a very different role. I find it so interesting because you're a trained architect. You have architects that do the work for you at this point. Kind of take me through those steps of 1992. By the way, because we're friends, I'm not going to tell you what I was doing in 1992. But 1992 as an architect, now, developing your own self storage, certainly consulting for a bunch of groups around the country on their self storage projects. Kind of how did that transition go from Barry Sherman, architect, just doing plans, to Barry Sherman, consultant on literally every aspect of a self-storage project and developer?
Well, appreciate it, Thad. Yeah, I can give you a little, certainly some history in the milestones. After practicing architecture, for probably my first 7 years, I had a chance of transcending into a design, build, general contracting opportunity, and then became an owner of a company in Denver, design builder, who is still today. After I've sold and moved on, still doing storage today, highly respected here, but. Uh, Over that time, 20 plus years between an office in Denver and an office in Houston, we opened, we started traveling the country, handling design and construction. So I migrated from just designing to then designing and building for some really respectable groups that are still active today. Learned a ton from them, and over time, then Thad started to see um, I think I can transcend probably into the development side, and it felt pretty natural. So, um, some years later, I ended up selling my shares of that construction company back to a partner. Launched S3 Partners now going on 11 years ago, and from there started directly consulting to many people I knew in the industry, from the REITs to just new individuals getting in for the first time, and probably 40 to 50% of what we do today is just that. So today at S3, we're a strong team. I'm surrounded by some really solid individuals that I onboarded, and it's a diversified, talented staff. Members that work from site selection, diligence, zoning entitlements. Um, we bring oversight on full construction, design, and engineering with what we deem as kind of our traveling roadshow. So we have touched all portions of the country. We are now in Puerto Rico on some early stages of a few sites, and really a soup to nuts process for clients that we consult with, and it's allowed us to really expand that footprint. I've had another career of making good connections and friends in the vendor side of it also. So as much as we're serving the maybe the end user, um, it all starts with the people that are bringing the entire process together.
I think this is one of the most fascinating. I have about 20 different questions I want to ask you from that one thing. And by the way, had Monet Ragsdale, your zoning genius that you have working for S3, she was on the podcast a couple of months ago. So I can vouch for the level of intelligence you've surrounded yourself with and the skill set just from a 30-minute conversation with her about planning and zoning. Couple of roads I want to go down before I go. I was on a call this morning and it struck me as so interesting with a gent who is getting into self storage for the first time. He's got this building that he has under contract as a conversion, and he's going to the town, the city actually, to he's got to get a variance and just doesn't know what to do, right? So we don't know what to do when we don't know what to do. So it's kind of neat for me to, and you talked about this, finding those people that know how to answer those problems. And I guess what I would ask you, this is a long-winded question, but how did you come to this skill set of being able to answer each of these pieces of the puzzle along the way?
It's probably like a lot of lessons we learn in life, that it's all time and by trial. We've been fortunate to do many conversions. If you speak to that Pacific piece, and so you're standing in front of zoning officials or planning commissions or city councils, and you learn over time, you know, where their hot buttons are, what are the concerns of the community, and what do you think the right product type needs to be for this environment, and how do you be a step ahead of them in regards to having those answers or having the product nearly designed to that before they even ask.
Yeah.
um, so I certainly was mentored by a variety of individuals in my career that helped me challenge how we get certain things solved. But there's the short of it.
Trial and error. So next thing I wanted to go down, and especially because of the times we're in, it's been such an interesting 5 year run in self storage, right? You had it really longer than 5 years, the late teens when there was a construction boom. You have COVID where there's those first couple of months where nobody knows what the heck's going on. Then you see this incredible growth in the industry, right? I think the REITs saw like a 61% growth in their stock price in 18 months. And then coming out of that, you're never going to see that kind of sustained growth over a long period of time. I'm interested to hear your thoughts on that period first of COVID, 2020 to, late 2022, early 2023, when there was this kind of massive boom in the industry. How did that relate to what you had seen in your first, by that time, you'd been nearly 30 years in the industry. What was that like going through it?
Certainly, like a lot of people conveyed in all aspects of life, just life in general is uncharted territory. And we had many projects into construction. I only had one project that got completely shut down because just ownership was overly concerned, didn't know what to think. The sky was
Yep.
falling. Um, it was a supercharged quasi recession, and people, People weren't moving. Um, there was pent up demand in a way. I think people started cleaning out their homes. People started ordering more things. Um, all kinds of things occurred that obviously on the outside of it came, some of the biggest years this asset class has ever seen. Even back to, I'll think back to 97, 98 and that cycle, or the early 2000s. And so we've seen quite a few, but it was unique, and it changed even our rent up season. There was nothing normal coming out of that time. I think today we're feeling somewhat normal, but a variety of things have occurred. Of course, a bit of an unstable economy today that has forced rates up, which has forced people not to move, which has slowed down the needle there. But on top of it, we all of a sudden boomed into a technology world, which I don't think we've seen the outcome of what is yet to come in there. But we've been flirting with technology and storage for some time, but we're way behind the curve in regards to other assets in our industry. But today we're going to jumpstart there, and I think there's a ton to it, and there's a ton related to how we're going to handle revenue management, dynamic pricing, that's going to change our footprint, for good.
I want you to talk to me a little bit about how do you see technology having impacted storage the most at this point?
Um, well, certainly it's communication. That, I guess, my opinion. It started on how we transacted. We went from check and credit card to online payment, and that changed a lot for just management groups on how they can perform online leases, remote accesses, unpeopled locations. So each step of the way, there's been something new. And now today, without a doubt, it is being analyzed and studied on a few fronts. One, like I mentioned, the revenue side of how dynamic pricing on a single floor, on how today a 10 by 10 by the elevator and a 10 by 10, 7 units down has a various as a pricing component that is all different. It varies completely. On top of that, the technology of what we're trying to use to find out where should we build these, where should we develop these, and why, and where the trends are, where population growth is occurring. So it has entered our industry, and it's going to make a significant difference. And I think if you're not applying it today, you will, like a lot of things, be left behind.
It's interesting you say that because not. I was on a call yesterday with a new technology company. I was on a call 2 weeks ago with a new technology company. I was on a call 2 months ago with another new technology company. It has really become there. I started in August of 2021 with literally no access to data, and now have so many multiple platforms. I want to transition with that comment. You kind of talked about dynamic pricing. I talk to developers nearly every day, and what I do as a day job when I'm not hosting the podcast. Um, and the big thing that's going on right now that I hear about, and you're a developer too, I know we've talked about it a little bit, is the big reach, the CubeSmart and Extra Space in public. They're using price cuts on introductory rates that make it very hard as a developer to get a read on what's really going on in a market. What are the actual realized prices that we're seeing in a market relative to what the big companies, the major REITs, are showing forward facing to their customers? Obviously we need a certain price to be able to go forward with a development. I guess what I would ask you here is how do you navigate this environment? We know the REITs are relying on this strategy of low prices, raise the rates once they get a customer in the door. But for a developer, it makes it really hard to go find a piece of dirt that you can pencil to a new construction. How do you navigate that? How do you still be able to have a successful project?
Certainly. Um, I'm not sure if there's a plain answer today to that. I mean, what the REITs are doing today, and I guess if the public team was sitting next to me, it's been, to a degree, fairly similar to what their model's been for a long time. They have driven rates down to, if I may, bring occupancy, and I think for the first time we're watching the other REITs do the same thing. And so that model is, I wouldn't say so much new. What's undiscoverable at the moment is where they're taking And I think this is still fresh where they're taking rates today and where are they going? What do those bumps internally look like? And how sustaining can that be in certain market sectors?
Yeah.
Our prime MSAs, what's the second market's going to look like? Where's that growth going to occur? But Wes, pardon me, that I think in general, there's not a straightforward answer today. At least I can't tell you I know of one. It is a lot of old school homework. There's a lot of if you're a developer who's going to compete in the market with the major REITs today, you're spending more and more time trying to understand where they're heading, what their occupancy truly looks like. Um, there's my 2 cents.
How important is it, given that environment, to have those connections in the industry, to have the people that you know that have been around for a while, that maybe they can't give you a report saying exactly what their rates are, but maybe a nod and a wink and a little, yeah, maybe that'll work.
Yeah, not sure I've had a wink lately, but um, I I I can tell you that I think in general there's still competition out there, and if you're keeping your eye on it um, frequently as a developer coming into a market, if you're going to develop in a market, you ideally are going to have a pretty close idea. If you're in a market that you don't know well enough, I'm not sure you should be developing there. So if you're going to get there, get to know your market, know that competition as best you can.
Yeah, love it. I wanted to kind of, I'm going to veer a little bit here because you and I were out in St. Louis last week at a couple weeks ago from when this is going to air, but out at Toy Storage Nation. And boat and RV is kind of an interesting, I guess I would call it like a nephew asset class to self storage, right? Maybe not a brother or sister because it's just not ever going to be as prevalent, I don't think, but certainly some people starting to look into that asset class. Tell me a little bit about what attracted you to that and why you're going and attending those type of trade shows specifically for boat and RV.
Sure. We've always had a component of boat and RV in storage. It
Yeah.
it it was always incorporated, and it's just continued to mature, and it's been what you've wanted to be. We've had an extra acre and a half, so we've opened up it to open air boat and RV. We place gravel down, maybe recycled asphalt. So it's always been a component and a need, and of course it was supercharged at the COVID time. Also, we're still coming out of a pent up demand of recreational vehicles across the boards. Um, I think the combination of that transaction, or pardon me, that situation with COVID, with the entry of technology, even, um, you know, I think we find ourselves today realizing more and more people and Americans are recreating that way. That in respect to Toy Storage Nation, I've known Amy Bix for some time, and I think she's put together a really nice upcoming platform with a ton of talent around it. I've had the honor to be asked to sit on the advisory board, and with that, yeah, we get to each of the quarterly meetings. We're in stops all around the country. We just finished St. Louis. We're off to Naples, Florida next, and then into Phoenix into the late fall. But here's a combination of getting around the country and seeing new people that are wanting to get in the boat and RV, um, bringing all the tools for a 1 day seminar. And I think it's going to help boost this asset class in certain areas. I think their exposure at the two other major conferences will continue to do that. So, good push with this new asset class moving forward, and it's got all the things that we're watching storage mature in further. Technology. Um, it's got private equity, and soon I think we're going to see the REITs fly their first flag.
What do you think is the biggest challenge right now to somebody who wants to go out and develop Class A boat and RV storage specifically, maybe without even any traditional storage involved? What's the challenge to getting that off the ground?
it's going to go back to some of the pieces of location. It's site basis. It's ensuring, and today the tools that we have are maturing, but they're not there to where storage is today of how we're underwriting these, or are we watching rates? Because it's a whole different model of what we're looking at from a demographic standpoint. It has some zoning differences to it, of course. So it's going to start with location, Thad, and it's going to move right into the key business model points.
What's the appetite? I mean, I know for a long time storage fought for bank support for construction loans. That has kind of since changed where because of the stability of the asset class over a 40-year period, not that bank construction loans are easy to get right now because the banking environment is challenging, but I guess I would ask, where are we at in that boat and RV space? You go put it in front of a bank, have they ever even heard of it? What's the fight going to be like to try and get somebody to want to give you that support?
Yeah, no. Similar how we watched a lot of the years with storage, we've got key banks that have invested in educating themselves on the platform. They understand who the feasibility team members are. They've learned how to watch and check the underwriting. There are groups out there today. I mean, I'll give a plug to Live Oak Bank. They show up out of all of the Toy Storage Nation events. They're one, and there's plenty of other good banks around there that have came into the market or have come into the market. Pardon me. Um, but not as diversified or broad as we see in the storage asset class. That
Which always, I get a smile on my face that the more challenging it is, the more opportunity, right? You're at a very different stage of that asset class than you are of self storage.
yes.
All right, we're going to change gears for the last time here as we wind down into the final of our 30-minute little talk. I watch you from afar, and it's so motivating. I'm not going to throw you under the bus by telling everyone your age, but you're at an age where it's not common for people out to be out running marathons at 10,000 plus feet of, or half marathons for that matter. You've really taken up some challenges over the last year and a half, couple years, as far as the health side of things. I want to kind of pick your brain about why that's become such a big part of your life and what it's done for you, I guess, relating to the business side of things.
Well, appreciate that. I think as I've aged, like many of us have, quality of life is key. We're all working hard to ideally find the balance between playing hard and working hard. Um, a little over a decade ago, as I was looking genetically at what my parents were facing from health issues, and asking myself, is that the road I'm going down? And what can I do to maybe change that? And so, I've got an awesome supporting wife, and collectively we made some major changes in our life. Certainly, our habits to how we take care of ourselves, what we eat. Major change. It actually started at a storage event in DC and about 12 years ago. And not only are we working on the health side of just what we consume, but the physical side. And so I am out living here in Colorado, still running uh, races at high elevations, and it's ideally working to keep me young, but it's a balance, and it's a never ending journey that we all have to work towards. And with that, for me, it just provides me a lot of energy, a lot of drive each day, and so that's probably that. Hopefully that addresses your question, but appreciate you acknowledging it.
Well, I appreciate seeing it. I mean, it's something that interestingly enough, I think that we've kind of formed a lot of our friendship on not only our love of the storage space, but that role of exercise and health in our lives. And for me, someone that struggled with it for a decade and seeing you go run, half marathons in Steamboat Springs, Colorado, where the air is quite a bit thinner. It's super motivating. So I want you to know that for me, it's unbelievable to have that friend that's out there. And I, I'm just competitive enough where, if I know my friend Barry can do it, it's a kick in the butt. Hey man, you got no excuses to get out there and go do something. So want to thank you for that piece of it, because nothing better than being surrounded by friends that don't let you make excuses, right? That don't let you look in the mirror and allow yourself not to challenge yourself. So I appreciate that greatly.
Yeah.
I will flip that into the business side of it, where your schedule blows my mind. I'm on the East Coast. You're in Colorado Mountain Time. You're in Colorado today. That could change tomorrow. In fact, probably will, because you're all over the country. I think this is about the 2700th background I've seen you with on a Zoom call. I've never seen the two paintings behind you, so I don't know where you're at, but it's somewhere I haven't seen you before. Your schedule that you keep, a lot of times we'll hop on a Zoom call and it'll be 7:30 my time, 8:30 my time. It's 5:30, 6:30 Colorado time. How do you have the energy to, and then we're on a Zoom call right now. We're doing this at 5:37 East Coast time, taping this podcast. You're still going strong at 3:30 in the afternoon. Many times we'll have a phone call at 7:38 at night. How do you have the energy to be able to be going 5:30 in the morning to 7:30 at night, running your business?
I appreciate that. I'm going to put it in the category of probably passion. I certainly still enjoy what I do each day, who I get to surround myself with. I've got a great team at S3 here. I work with a lot of really good people in the industry, and it brings a lot of passion. The health side certainly helps out. Um, I've got a great supporting family. So, at that, it's counting our blessings and just, being driven at what we ideally enjoy. So thanks for acknowledging that. I obviously see the same in yourself. So there's my little plug back to you, my friend.
I appreciate that. I aspire to be like you someday. So I'm trying to keep up. But you said two things that really jumped out at me. Obviously passion, right? And we're very lucky that we work in this asset class that is just unlike, and unlike you, over the last 30 years, and I joke, I mean, in 1995, 96, I entered the workforce. Um, I've been in other asset classes. They are not self storage. I've never been in anything like this asset class. So we're very lucky to work in this asset class where people are genuinely very kind, very open, very honest, very helpful, which I'd never experienced anything like it. So lucky to have that passion. Not everyone's that lucky, and we can acknowledge that, I think, right? To find that
Yeah.
career where they get motivated just by the career. But the two other things that you said that I thought were great were, number one, who you surround yourself with. How do you make that happen? How do you create an environment where you're surrounding yourself with people, specifically as the CEO of a company? How do you make sure that you're working with people who give you that extra energy?
Well, so some of it feels just like nutrition. We all flock together. And I've got plenty of other people in my life that probably run circles around me, that but you tend to find yourself either following them or ideally them following you. And it's a vetting process. We all have gone through relationships like that, either with clients or colleagues, friends, and we all set tones and expectations for each other that ideally are very respectful, but they're part of who you are.
The second thing you said there was gratitude, right? How powerful has that been for you, of kind of framing things from a place of gratefulness?
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's a reminder daily, on all fronts of life. Specific to the industry, I think we are made up with a lot of friendlies in the industry. We have competition, just like other asset classes, but this group comes together numerous times a year.
Yeah.
It's a respected group at many different levels, at a national level, at state associations, etc. And when it comes down to it, it's kind of the commonality of life. We're all, working towards ideally having a balanced, happy, fruitful life.
I love it. And I guess the last question I'll ask you for tonight, well, the last podcast related question would be, what do you think is responsible for that kind of camaraderie in self storage?
Well, I think a lot of it for maybe that might people that might have hair that are somewhat the color of mine if I had it. It's been we've been there's been a lot of pioneering in this industry. You don't, like others have had. I mean, it's ever changing, but I think a lot of it has been pioneering, where we're all looking to find the right steps to move forward. I mean, we're still facing a lot of this industry. We could go on and talk about property tax today. We could go on and talk about a variety of other things that we're all still in the trenches on, trying to understand how we take next steps forward.
Good
Lost the
catch. That
earpod.
was well done. That was some martial arts instincts there, Barry. You look like an old kickboxer catching that AirPod.
You taught me a few things there. Yes, thank you.
Listen, I always try and respect your time. Try and respect all the guest time. Really try and respect the listeners' time by keeping this thing to 30 minutes so it's digestible. I do want to, before we sign off, somebody's into getting into the self storage space. Maybe they're in it and they're facing some challenges they don't know how to deal with, and they want to get a hold of Barry Sherman and take advantage of your 30 plus years of experience. How does someone get a hold of you? What's the easiest way to reach you and be able to get some help?
Yeah. Well, S3 dot partners on the World Wide Web, or 303-746-7013. Call me directly.
Oh, I love it. Listen, I love you. Tell you that all the time.
Thanks,
So
Dad.
so thankful to consider you one of my closest friends. Look forward to talking again soon, and thanks so much for the time.
Thanks for having me, Thad. Take care. See you soon, my friend.